now. So welcome everyone. We are recording this call for educational and promotional purposes. I'm Edwin Rutsch, Director of the Center for Building a Culture of Empathy, and so pleased that you're here for this introduction to the Empathy Circles and the Empathy Circle Facilitation Training. We just took part in it was a 3-day Design for Empathy conference, and I think a few people might be from there. I know Allison, I know I saw you there. Valerie, or just wondering where were you part of that conference, or?
I tried to be, but wasn't able to make it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Well, I'm glad you're able to make it to this event. So I'm Edwin Rutsch, Director of the Center for Building a Culture of Empathy, and I've been working for probably about 14 years on the topic of empathy, and started the center. And the center has the goal of creating a more empathic society, and we have a lot of different projects that we do. We have an empathy tent, we have social media community. And we also do these empathy circles, which I found to be the most effective sort of first step gateway practice for learning and deepening empathy and listening skills. And we also do this training for how to take part to be able to facilitate empathy circles. And so let me actually give a little bit of an overview of the schedule for today. And let me get the share screen, bring that up. I'll go somebody in the white room. So this is what we're going to be doing. I'm doing the introduction right now. Usually we do, if it's a small group, we do participant introductions, but since we're a little bit bigger, we'll skip that and do it at the end in the debrief. And then we're going to have a short introduction about the Empathy Circle Facilitator Training. Then we'll have a little questions and answers about that. And then we'll have a section on how to take part in an empathy circle and do a little fishbowl to model it. And then we'll divide into breakout rooms for the main portion of the time to have to actually practice the empathy circle process. And then we'll come back together in a group to do a full group debrief about your experience. So with that, I think the next section here is, let's see, is Bill. If you want to give a little tour of the training website.
Sure. Okay. All right. Okay, hopefully everyone can see us. This is the training facilitation, the landing page, and from there you can go over here and you can see on the side all of the different areas you can go to. This is the link to it. This is a happy people from the previous cohorts. And so when you go to this page, you'll see how you learn to facilitate an empathy circle. That's what the training is about. And you'll have your first experience today. And our vision is to spread the practice so that everybody learns the skills of mutually and respectfully listening to each other. Again, 7+ billion people, we're adding to it all the time. There's a lot of training to do, so let's get going. And this is an open source empathy training, which means that you can take this and then use it or fold it into some other kind of training that you might be doing. It's a very basic training, but it is very helpful in the sense that it gives people the experiential context for more complex therapies and training. So if you're a therapist or a counselor or a doctor, you might consider that. The training is free, but you can donate if you wish. And then here is the donation page. Again, this would easily cost about $300. I would say that the training, we'll get into that, but it's about 10 hours or so. And everybody you see here who is a facilitator is volunteering their time. So thank you all for those who do that. This is an Empathy Circle Facilitator Training Cafe. And this is a chance for you to kind of experience it and get a sense of what it is and what an empathy circle is like. If you want to take the facilitation training, we ask you to take or participate in 2 empathy circles. This would be one. You can just come to another cafe and then you're done as far as that. Or you can have an empathy circle with family, friends, coworkers, and we work on the honor system for that. The time commitment. This is module 1, and it's 5 sessions of 2.5 hours each. So we'll meet once a week. If you decide to take the facilitation training, please, really try to take that time commitment seriously, because all of us are volunteering. We're there, we're making ourselves available. And also Edwin has to divvy up everyone and do things like that. And so if people drop out, it does throw things off a bit. We can handle it. If you have a very serious problem, that's fine. We understand. But you have to in order to get your certificate, you have to attain all the trainings. The training path, this is a basic training, and you can take it as much as you want. If you are a participant, that's the first time you take the training, you can then become a trainee. And then you start to learn how to present various parts of the training, and then you become a trainer when you're able to do that. And then also Edwin is working on people who are interested in becoming production trainees. And so we want to build a supportive community. It's not just like a one and done. So we have a community of facilitators. There's an email list that you can send out one email and all the facilitators will see it. And I can say from experience, our facilitators are wonderful and ready to kind of help you in your project. Cohort 12 series coming up, and that will be starting on Saturday, November 20th. And I believe someone asked about 13. That is Monday. And we will be having, if we don't have a facilitation training going on either Saturday or Monday, there will be an open cafe like this. The next cohort, Monday cohort, starts right after the beginning of the year, January 3rd. This is an overview of the training. The first one, we talk about a culture of empathy, the values and things like that, what the practice, the values that the practice is couched in. Then we go on to some practice facilitations and also presenting the how-to, which you'll see a video about after this. And then we give you 3 and 4 some challenges, if you wish. The training is made to kind of take you through and get you familiar and to give you a bit of experience, but some people want to go slower and some people want to go faster. You can take the training as many times as you want. In fact, one of our really excellent facilitators, took the training, I think 3 or 4 times before they wanted to take that next step, and that's fine. And then session 5, we then revisit the values of a culture of empathy, seeing how the training has affected your view of them, or, you see them in new light or not, or if there's some other value. And also we integrate and give feedback about the training. Edwin he doesn't sleep, he doesn't eat. I don't know how he does it, but he has a bunch of, research and references. This is all about the empathy circle here. You can click on any one of these things and you can get some information about the empathy circle and a culture of empathy. And down here are other things to, well, this is all empathy, but culture of empathy, an Empathy Circle magazine, and a training literature. So it goes beyond just the scope of this training or the culture of empathy. That's it for that. Really quickly, are there any questions that anybody has about anything? Okay, I do not see any questions right now. There's a reaction, you can hold up your hand like that if you want, but I don't see any.
There's Holly.
Oh, Holly, I'm sorry, I missed you.
Hi.
Holly, go ahead.
So sorry to join late. I had some technical issues, as usual when you're joining the Zoom, right? But I have a question about the document you just showed. Would we be given access to this?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
At the beginning, I had, Edwin just put it in. The
Thank
link
you
is
so
in the
much.
chat. Yeah,
Thank you so much.
sure. Any other questions? Okay. All right. Well, let's get moving on, and I'll give it back to Edwin. He'll show you the how-to video.
Okay, so, we've talked about the Empathy Circle. There's several videos that we have online on how to take part in an Empathy Circle. There's a 9-minute introduction that mentions the benefits, goes through the process. And there's a more extensive 24-minute video. And all those are available on the website. But I'm going to show a 6-minute. This is sort of the minimal pared down version of how to take part in an Empathy Circle to prepare you for taking part, which you'll do in a few minutes. And so this is the basic instructions, and let me know if you do not hear it. Director of the Center for Building a Culture of Empathy. I'd like to welcome you to this short presentation on how to take part in a basic empathy circle. So next, let's look at the step-by-step how to take part. An empathy circle starts with 2 to 7 participants. Here on the screen, we have 4 participants, which I find is an ideal number. There are 4 basic roles, and the roles rotate among the participants as the empathy circle unfolds. 1, the speaker, is the first person to speak. 2 is active listener who actively listens to the speaker. There's the silent listeners, they quietly observe and witness. And the facilitator who organizes, schedules, and hosts the circle. They also do the timekeeping, and they have some experience with the process and help keep participants in the process. However, everyone has the responsibility to hold the process and the practice. So to begin with, the facilitator will start the empathy circle. They welcome the participants. They lead introductions if the participants don't know each other. The facilitator invites participants to give short introductions, for example, their name, where they're from, and something personal about themselves. The facilitator then reviews the empathy circle process to remind everyone how it works. They announce the discussion topic, if there is one. Even if there is a topic, you can always talk about what is alive for you. That is what is on your mind in the moment. And 5, they set the speaker time limits, perhaps 5 minutes, for example. And the facilitator then asks who would like to start to be the first speaker. So at that point, the participant volunteers to be the first speaker. As speaker, you select who will be your active listener, and you can select anyone that you want. You speak about the topic given or whatever is alive for you. And so you'll speak a bit until you have maybe expressed an idea or two. And then you want to pause to give the active listener a chance to recap what they understand that you are saying and feeling. If you say too much, the listener may have difficulty in reflecting it. As the active listener, you are listening to the speaker to get an understanding of what they're saying and what is important to them. You are giving them your full attention as a supportive companion on their inner journey and exploration. When the speaker pauses, you recap your understanding of what they said and how they feel by reflecting the essence of that in your own words. You can summarize, paraphrase, or even say the speaker's words back to them. Even though you may have a strong impulse to respond with your own ideas, judgments, analysis, advice, and sympathy, or even questions, resist the impulse to do so because these common responses block the speaker from moving along their internal journey. You'll be able to say whatever you want when it is your turn to be the speaker. If you don't reflect the understanding to the speaker's satisfaction, they can always say it again. Then as speaker, you check, do you feel understood to your satisfaction? If you do not feel understood, you can say it again, perhaps in different words. If you do feel understood, continue sharing. Again, after speaking a bit, pause to give your active listener a chance to recap their understanding of what you said. As the active listener, you again share your understanding of what the speaker said and meant. The cycle of speaking and reflecting continues until you, as the speaker, do not have anything else you'd like to say, or until you get a signal from the timekeeper. If you get a signal from the timekeeper, then finish up what you're saying in a sentence or two. After you get a final reflection, you can end your turn by saying something like, "I feel fully heard," or something like that to indicate you are done with your speaking turn. At that point, the roles then rotate. The active listener becomes the speaker. The person they select becomes the new active listener. For everyone having equal time, it is good to select someone that hasn't spoken lately, but it is your choice. The others in the circle become the silent listeners. This process of taking turns in speaking and active listening continues for whatever time is allotted for the empathy circle. And this was just a very short introduction. The best way to learn the practice is taking part and doing it. There is more in-depth material on taking part in an empathy circle and facilitating one at empathycircle.com. Thank you for listening. Okay, so that's the basic instructions, and now Kathy is going to model Empathy Circle, just 3 rounds to show how it's done again.
Right. Yeah, so we'll spend about 10 minutes just demonstrating a circle, and then we'll break out into smaller circles. So I will be the first listener, and can the facilitators raise their hands? You can go to the top of the screen so I can see who wants to be a part. Okay. Let's see, Larry, would you be willing to be the speaker and I'll be the listener?
I will.
Great, I'm listening.
All right, so I'll just say that I'm really enjoying these empathy circles, and it really does bring about an experience of communication in a very peaceful space. I'll stop there.
Okay. So you love these empathy circles because it brings about a feeling of peace, and I may have missed something, so let me know.
Peaceful communication. Yeah. Yeah.
Say that again.
Peaceful communication.
Equal communication.
Peaceful communication.
Peaceful, peaceful.
And equal.
And equal.
Yeah. And I really enjoy this. I think it's probably the way human beings are actually designed by nature or whatever to communicate and to live in peace and equality. I'll stop there.
So you think this models the way that we are designed to live in peace and equality?
Yeah. And I don't think the empathy circle is doing any kind of a magic trick. It's just that it's providing the safe space for us to experience what's naturally already within us.
So there's nothing magic about this. It just provides a safe space for us to reveal what's already there.
Yes, and to trust that it's real, it's true, to trust that it's our natural, peaceful self, and practice it.
So to be in the circle and trust that this is our natural self and that we're practicing that.
Mhm. Well, thank you, Kathy. I feel fully heard. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. So now, since I was the listener, I will be the speaker and I will choose somebody to listen to me. So Tiffany, would you like to be my listener?
Sure.
Okay, great. And I'm doing 2-minute rounds. So it's good to see you here, Tiffany, because we took the training together.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited.
So do you want to reflect my excitement?
Yes, yes. You're happy to see me here because we've taken the training together before.
Yes, yeah. And one of the things I love about the empathy circles is that it has created a new community for me, and the people I've met are, let me think of the word. I would say just beautiful souls.
The community is just a group of people that you consider beautiful souls. A new community for you, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think, as we grow older, sometimes it can be a stretch to build a new community because we get settled. So to me, this is very exciting that this is a new community.
It's very exciting for you because it's a new community. And sometimes as we age, it's difficult to find those new communities.
Yes, definitely. And I think I feel fully heard. So thank you, Tiffany.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So you can be the speaker.
Sure. Linda?
Sure.
Okay. I can only see a few of you guys. Thank you so much for listening to me if you're willing.
Okay, you're thanking me for listening. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah. I'm excited about today because I have finished the cohort, and this presents a very unique opportunity to be a facilitator, quite possibly.
Okay, you're excited today because you have participated in prior cohorts, and it's a possibility that you may actually practice as a facilitator today.
Yes, and I'm glad that we're doing these rounds of practice because, I feel more confident that I don't have to re-explain things later. We can just jump right in.
Okay, and you appreciate this fishbowl, what we're doing now, the demonstration, because when we go into the breakout rooms, you'll be able to just jump right in as the facilitator.
Yeah, and I'm just excited for all these new people here. We may not ever see them again, well, not necessarily in this cohort. We may not ever see them in this cohort, but probably in the next. And so I'm really excited to see them possibly join when we begin our cohort again.
And so you're excited about seeing all these new people here. You may or may not see them again, depending on whether they participate in future cohorts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I certainly hope that they do. I thank you, and I feel fully heard, Linda.
All right. And you're hoping that they do participate, and that's it. You're welcome.
Yes.
Okay. You want me to do one, Kathy?
Yeah, we could do one more. Mm-hmm.
All right, then I will speak to, people are bouncing around my screen here. I will speak to Celine.
You're muted, Celine.
You're muted.
All right, here I am.
Okay. As a person, an individual, these empathy circles are helping me to go a little deeper into myself.
As an individual, these empathy circles has been helpful for you to go deeper with yourself.
Yes, my first purpose was to enhance my mediation skills. But the more we do these circles, the more we do the buddy calls, the more comfortable I'm becoming in letting my guard down in terms of my person.
So when you initially joined the Empathy Circles training, it was to improve your mediation skills. But as time goes on and you participate in more circles and the empathy buddy calls, you're finding that it's causing you to go deeper with your own self.
Yes, these spaces or these circles are, they are safe, and they also encourage you to be brave, or for me to be brave, because usually I do not, I don't share my feelings, or I don't share my feelings with other people, especially people I don't know.
And you have found at the empathy circles that you feel safe enough to do something that prior you wouldn't normally do, which is to share your feelings with other people who you don't know.
Yes, so I feel like these empathy circles have dual purposes for the speakers and the listeners.
So you're finding that the empathy circles have dual purposes, for this one for the speaker and another for the listener.
Yes, thank you. I feel fully heard, Celine.
Thank you, Linda.
Okay, thanks everyone. So that was just a little modeling of the practice. You could see how it's done, and we're going to go into our breakout rooms. So we have the first breakout room will be Tiffany. You'll facilitate that, and Kathy will be in there as sort of a backup support. Room 2 will be Gary facilitating, and with Anne as backup support. We have room 3 will be Larry facilitating with Dean and Bill there for support. And then I'll be in a room with Linda, who will be facilitating, and I'll be the kind of a backup for that room. So I think we're set. I see 2 verifiers here.
How many minutes around?
Let me get right. Thanks. So I'm putting it into the chat. Our topic is, why are you interested in Empathy Circle, empathy, or the circles, or the training, or whatever's alive for you. You can always talk about whatever is on your mind. And we have 4-minute turns, and we're going to be having about let's see, how do we have 70 minutes. We'll have 70 minutes in the breakout rooms, and then we'll come back into the full group to have a little bit of a debrief. So let me check here on the rooms. I think we're all set. So, and then the facilitator will be the first listener in each of the breakout rooms. So here we go. See you there. And Linda, we're staying here in the weight room. I'll be here with you, and Celine actually will be here too.
Which room do I go to?
Yeah,
you're in this room with us.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, I had to switch devices. I just got home.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Oh, there you are.
Okay.
I was my phone earlier.
Great. All right. Allison and Vera, I don't remember seeing y'all in those circles before. So
I have been on a circle before. This is my second.
All right. Well, you're finna have another wonderful experience today as we do the circle. So I will be the facilitator, and when each person will have 4 minutes to speak. Can you see this? So when I hold this up, that means your 4 minutes is up. You can fit, if you're in the middle of speaking or reflecting, please finish your thought. Don't just stop in the middle of a sentence just because I, hold this up, but it's letting you know that the 4 minutes has expired. Okay. So I will start off by being, because I'm keeping the time. So I will start off by being the listener. And who wants to speak first? I will pick someone. Okay, Vera, you're it.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. I was speaking earlier about the personal journey that I'm on, that I really was not conscious of the fact that I was so much a introvert.
You're the
regard-
listener, Linda, not the speaker.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. Oh my goodness. Hold on. Reset. Thank you. Reset. Okay. All right. Vera, start. I'm the listener. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much for doing this. I am so excited to be here this morning. I am looking forward to becoming a Empathy Circle facilitator. I think what you're doing here is just absolutely amazing.
All right. Vera, what I heard you say is that you're excited and happy to be here, and that you really think that the Empathy Circle is exciting and rewarding. Okay.
Definitely. It has the power to change the world, because you're creating these safe spaces for people to really be able to express themselves. I think rarely in the real world do we ever feel like we're fully heard. I mean, we're talking, people pretend like they're listening, or you might assume they're listening, but really people aren't really listening to each other. It's
Okay.
yeah.
What I heard you say, Vera, was that these empathy circles or empathic listening has the ability to change the world, because we're so busy. A lot of people, we're moving, we think we're being heard, but we're not being heard.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I just, I've always wanted to be a better listener. So I think this is really great training for that. I look forward to becoming a better listener and having people, kind of, because I want that, for people to feel like I am listening to them. And I don't feel like I currently am doing that great of a job. So I do think that this training is going to help me.
All right, your goal is to become a better listener, and this training, you believe, is going to help you achieve that goal, because you really do want people to feel heard.
Definitely. And yeah, I'm very grateful for this opportunity. I just want to say thank you to you and Edwin and everybody who's a volunteer and facilitator. Just really awesome community that you've built here. I really admire the work that you've done and just inspired by all of you.
Okay, you're grateful for this opportunity, for the empathy circles, and for the opportunity to participate in them, and for Edwin, the producer, developer, and all the volunteers, and you're just looking forward to participating.
Definitely. Yeah. And, I think this will be really useful in my day-to-day life, and then also at work, and, just and of course, with my kids, I think I could really teach them. I think I could really teach them the skills of empathy and listening and just, being better people in general.
Okay, so you can see this helping you develop in your professional life, um, your social life, and at work, and with your children. You think you can help them become better as they grow.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so, let's see, 4 minutes is a long time. I'm sorry. Yeah, I really, I really just, I'm so excited and so happy to be here. I think, oh gosh, I'm just thinking about like what other things that other people talk about. So I'm looking forward to hearing other people's talks as well. I think it's whatever's on your mind, but right now I'm not really not much is coming to my mind. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
All right, you're finding that 4 minutes is a really long time, and you're just looking forward to hearing what other people have to say, what's alive for them today.
Absolutely. Yep. Awesome job. I feel fully heard. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Okay, oops. As the listener, I will pick Celine to be my speaker. I mean, as my listener, as the speaker, I'm gonna speak, and Celine will listen.
Yes, that sounds great.
All right. I was saying earlier that the empathy circles are helping me realize that I'm not as open with people regarding my feelings as I thought I was.
So you're realizing as a result of being part of these empathy circles that you're not as open with other people about your feelings as you thought you were.
Yes. Um, I have low tolerance for small talk. That was one of my I want to say challenges when I was working.
Mhm. So you have a low tolerance for small talk, and when you were working, this was a challenge for you.
Yes. We would go into meetings and I would show up on time and it's a room full of people standing around talking and I would just go in and sit down.
So you'd go into a meeting, you'd show up on time, and even though there are a lot of other people present, what you did was sit down, ready for the meeting.
Yes. And I did not realize that people were paying attention to that or that they thought that was out of the norm until somebody brought it to my attention.
And you didn't realize that for other people, this was kind of out of the norm behavior.
Yes, until somebody said, well, Linda, you just come in and sit down and you don't talk to people. And I'm like, talk about what? Because all I could talk about with them was work. They would talk about their families and personal things. And with me being single and no family here, I didn't really feel a connection with them except for work.
And what you came to realize was that other people were saying, you know, Linda, you're not talking, and they were wanting maybe chit chat or information about families, and you were there just to work. And it didn't occur to you to talk about something else.
Yes. So in one of the buddy calls, I won't tell you which buddy, I was surprised that this buddy at the end of the call pointed that out to me. She said, you like to be in control, don't you? And I went, yes.
And something that you experienced in a buddy call was that after a while, this person said to you, Linda, you like to be in control. And you agreed.
I agree. And this buddy said, I believe when you were growing up, you were taught that your feelings didn't matter. And I had never thought about that in that context.
And so this person in the buddy call said to you that I believe that when you were growing up, your feelings didn't matter.
That has stuck with me because during the call, I got a lot of information about my buddy. And the buddy pointed out near the end, said, I don't know anything about you. And I was like, yeah.
And what happened by the end of the call, you realized that you knew a lot about this person, but that person didn't know anything much about you in a personal way.
Yes, thank you. And I feel fully heard.
Thank you. Okay. Let's see. Allison, would you be willing to listen to me?
Yeah, I'll try my best, Celine.
For me, I noticed that I've integrated the skills that I've learned in the Empathy Buddy and not in the Empathy Buddy, in the Empathy Circles training, so that when I find myself in a difficult conversation, I can remember pretty quickly that all I have to do is listen. I'll pause there.
So I hear you saying that you can use the skills you're learning in the empathy circle. So when you find yourself in a difficult conversation or a difficult situation in your rest of your life, that you can just listen.
Yes. And this is kind of a big deal because I tend to be kind of self-righteous and think that I know a lot of stuff and that other people would benefit from hearing all the stuff that I know. And so learning to shut up and listen is a wonderful new option, I'm going to call it.
So one of the reasons you really enjoy this new skill is, as you describe yourself as self-righteous, and you think that people will benefit a lot from what you have to share with them. And so you like this new option of also being able to listen.
Yes. And actually, I find it very enjoyable. I'm always curious about people. I like to get to know different people and wow, why do they think that way? And that's, that's interesting or weird. And so, but it amplifies because I think my skills have improved.
And on top of the thing you said earlier, you also find a benefit that you really actually enjoy listening because you're curious about people and you like to find out about them too.
And I would like to see this kind of interest and openness between people at all levels of not just in personal relationships within one's close circle, but I would like to see politicians everywhere being that curious and wanting to listen instead of trying to persuade each other about things.
Yeah, so you're saying that you wish that people would engage in this sort of action of listening, not just in their personal lives, but also everywhere else. You mentioned politicians would do better to listen to one another rather than trying to persuade each other.
Yes, so I'll be recruiting you all to come to Washington, D.C. with me someday. I hope you'll be ready. Pack up and be ready. No, I do think that this skill applied widely has the potential to change our world.
So you'd love us all to come to Washington to try and get the politicians to start listening to one another better. And I think that's sort of driven by this idea that listening and empathy circles could really change the world.
Definitely. Thank you very much, Allison. I feel fully heard.
Thank you. So I guess it's my time to speak. So Edwin, would you listen?
Yep, listening.
Thank you. So my interest in empathy is scholarly. I'm a social psychologist and I study empathy from a scientific viewpoint.
So your interest in empathy is from a scholarly point of view, and you're studying it scientifically, or wanting to understand it scientifically.
Yeah, so I was first interested in joining an empathy circle to learn about how listening and empathy are intertwined.
So you're wanting to take part in an empathy circle so you can see how empathy and listening, how they relate or are intertwined with each other.
Yeah, I have a research study I did recently where I got people to either listen or talk, and found that the people who listened ultimately showed higher levels of empathy afterwards.
So you've done some little studies on your own, and you found that the people who were listening in these that were actually show more empathy afterwards.
So that's my sort of main reason for coming. Although if I'm honest, I have another reason as well, which is that I noticed the date for today's workshop is today, obviously, and my partner actually just deployed a few days ago. So I was very excited about having people to listen to me and to have some empathic listeners around on this day for me as a personal thing.
Okay, so there's another reason that you wanted to join. It's you just wanted to be heard because your partner just deployed, and it sounds like there's things you'd like to share about that and just be heard about it.
Yeah. So I guess I could talk about that a little bit because it's always on my mind, and it's definitely on my mind right now. So I live near Washington, D.C., actually near Celine. But I moved here recently, and so I don't have much of a support network outside of my partner who is now left.
So you're in the near the DC area, and you don't have much of a support network besides your partner there. So it sounds like you're looking for sort of a community.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely would benefit from more of a feeling of community. Another thing is I'm working remotely right now, which always it feels more difficult to build community when you're not physically in the room.
Yeah, so you're working remotely, and it's hard to build community when you can't meet people personally in the same room.
Yeah, and actually, sort of bringing it back to the empathy circle, this is obviously virtual, but it feels a lot more connected than normal virtual interactions, and it might be to do with what Linda's saying, and that it's not small talk. And I think that's really valuable. Is getting past that small talk.
Mm-hmm. So this circle feels more personal. It doesn't feel like like Linda's talking about the small talk, that this is getting past the small talk and doesn't have that disconnection maybe that you've been feeling in other Zoom calls.
Yeah, definitely. It feels different to talk to someone, especially when you know that they're really listening to you. I'm sitting here sort of on this meta level thinking about talking when someone's listening feels different to sometimes talking when you're trying to get someone to listen to you. When it's already there already, it feels different.
So you're noticing sort of from a meta level that when you're speaking and trying to get someone to listen, there's a different quality to it than when they're already there present and listening to you, and you're sort of comparing those different qualities.
Yeah, I spend my day job, I spend teaching. So especially on Zoom calls, you're trying to get their attention. And it's nice to have people's attention without working for it.
And as a teacher who's doing online teaching, you have to try to get the students' attention. Sounds like there's a bit of struggle there, and it's nice when people are just paying attention. You don't have to struggle for getting that attention. I think that was the time too.
Thank you, Edwin. I feel fully heard.
Okay, well, I'm actually going to speak back to you. So since it's my turn, so I'll speak to you. So yeah, I was very interested that you were saying that you're studying empathy, and I'm just very curious about what you've been doing around that. So I have a lot of curiosity about your work.
So I hear that you're very curious about my work, and I sort of want to find out more about it.
Yeah, and this, the Empathy Circle is based on the work of Carl Rogers, if you're familiar with him. So he's considered one of the top 2 or 3 most influential clinical psychologists. And something that I really appreciate about his work is he had the experiential. So as a clinician, he had the experience, the embodied lived experience of empathy. And then he also had a scientific rigor too. So he merged the experiential and the scientific rigor. And I think that that's very powerful combination to have both of those.
Yeah, so you're sort of talking about the history of the empathy circles and how they were prompted by Jung's work and his experiential merging with his scientific study of empathy.
Carl Rogers.
Oh, my apologies about Carl Rogers.
Yeah, and I find the academics who are just doing cognitive psychology and so forth, they sort of miss the essence of empathy. For example, there's a book out called Against Empathy by Paul Bloom, and he's coming from a very cognitive background, and he totally misses sort of the really an understanding, I think, of what empathy is, so
you're saying that the cognitive psychologists a lot of the times will miss the essence of empathy, and especially Paul Bloom's book Against Empathy, that really perhaps misses the point of empathy.
And I've invited Paul Bloom numerous times for 5 years. I've been trying to get him into an empathy circle. He did his first article about, against empathy in the New Yorker. And I said, Paul, come talk to me. I want to empathize with you about what you dislike about empathy. And he says, I don't have time. And then he doesn't have time. So it's just totally, kind of dismisses sort of the experiential. So, and it's been 5 years that he has an open invitation.
So you've actually invited Paul Bloom to come to an empathy circle when you saw his first article on Against Empathy come out, but he doesn't have the time to come. And it's been 5 years now, and obviously his book has gained a lot of traction in that time, and he still hasn't come.
Yeah, and yeah, even what he's calling empathy, I don't even call empathy. I call it like emotional contagion or something. So it's kind of like, you know, you have a premise. It's kind of like if you have a false premise, you can build a whole intellectual structure on that false premise, and the whole thing is kind of like garbage in, garbage out, you know.
So you would say that Paul Bloom's definition of empathy is more like emotional contagion. And so based on that sort of faulty definition of empathy, garbage in, garbage out, that he's building a straw man argument, essentially.
Right, exactly. And having been in the technical field, we use that term, you know, in the computer field with programming and so forth, you know, garbage in, garbage out. So it's a technical term.
Yeah, so you come from an engineering background where you use that term garbage in, garbage out a lot. Technical.
Yeah, I feel fully heard. Thank you.
I don't know what happens.
You go again. Yeah.
Oh, I go again. Okay.
Sorry, I had muted myself. Yes, you go again, and that's so you pick someone to listen to you, and you can talk on the question of what it means to you, or why you're here, or whatever is alive for you.
Sure. Vera, will you listen to me?
Sure. Thank you.
Vera. So I'm thrilled to have heard Edwin's thoughts on empathy. They've got me with lots of questions as well.
You are excited and thrilled to have heard Edwin's thoughts on empathy.
Yeah, he actually, you share a lot of similar ideas. I'm not sure whether you're familiar with Sarah Conrath and her work, that she was my PhD advisor, and she shares a lot of the same critiques of Paul Bloom.
Your advisor, Sarah Conrad, has some of the same critiques of Paul Bloom.
Yeah, I quoted him in an article or two that I was writing, and she didn't like that. So try and actually not quote him where possible.
You've quoted him, and you've quoted Paul Bloom on some articles, and she advised you not to do that.
Yeah, she didn't want to give too much of a platform to him, I suppose. Though he doesn't need citations, he has plenty already.
Paul has plenty of citations already. He doesn't need more.
Yeah, no, so it's really interesting to hear about sort of how people define empathy. Obviously, everybody's definitions differ a little bit, but I think that the straw man argument Edwin was talking about, you can argue against empathy if you define it a certain way, but that's sort of picking and choosing.
Yeah, there's a lot of diverse definitions of empathy. And, you know, in terms of being able to use the definition to go against it, or to, you know, you can you can take it whatever way you want based on those definitions.
Yeah, thanks. I spend a lot of my time defining empathy in my job. I'm currently working at the National Institute for Health, where I'm working on a project to increase empathy towards patients with obesity. But I spend a lot of time explaining what empathy is and why it might be useful in the first place.
Oh, interesting. So yeah, you have you're currently working with NIH, and you're working on how to get more empathy for people who are obese. And yeah, that sounds really interesting. Sorry. But yeah, you mentioned that you are working on that right now at NIH.
Yeah, no, it's really nice to know the federal government does actually fund some empathy work, but it usually has to be couched in terms of so people who have higher weight status, if they suffer from discrimination and stigma, actually that sort of is a self-perpetuating negative cycle. And so you can sort of, one of the I feel like empathy should be good enough on its own, but the argument we have to make for funding is if we are more empathic, that will lead people to weight loss eventually. So you kind of have to sell it the right way.
Oh, yeah. So it's great to hear that the government is doing this empathy work. People with higher weight status, they suffer from a stigma and it's a vicious cycle. So if there's more empathy for them, then it could really help them get out of that and improve themselves.
Yeah, so that's what we're working on right now. I was actually a virtual reality project, so we're working on using virtual reality to increase empathy towards people with obesity. That was my final thought.
Awesome. Yeah, it's a virtual reality project. It sounds amazing. Yeah. So very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you, Vera. I feel fully heard.
Okay. Yeah, now Vera. Now, when we get to the end, I just want to say this. Am I on? Yeah, she finished. You can still reflect, even though because that completes the round.
Oh, wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, that was fascinating. I
Yeah.
loved it. I want to hear
Okay.
more. I want to
Okay.
hear more.
All
Yeah,
right.
I love this.
So as the listener, you can pick a speaker.
Okay.
The other way around.
She was.
Vera is the speaker now. She can choose a listener.
What did I say? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You're the listener. You
All
were
right.
the listener.
Linda, will you be my listener, please?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. So let's see. I was supposed to be in DC this week. So, pulling on that DC thread, I had a business trip that was canceled on Monday. So I almost spent this weekend in DC.
All right. It was a business trip to DC and it got canceled. So rather than being there, you're here.
I'm home now in Huntington Beach, California. But I actually had to give away my hotel room because I couldn't cancel last minute. And so I ended up just giving it away. And I luckily found somebody who wanted to take it. So last minute on the check-in day, because I was checking in on Thursday, I was able to find somebody else to take my room. And I gave it away for free, of course. I was so last minute.
All right. You were unable to cancel the room. The check-in day was Thursday. And on that day of check-in, you were able to find someone that you could give the room to. You actually gave it away free.
Yes. And so, Allison, if you're interested in meeting new people in DC, I know some people. I can definitely introduce you to some people that you might be interested in meeting. And I just, I love building community. I hear that many of you do as well. And this is something that is right up my alley. I love to connect people with one another and to, join and build different communities.
Okay. You really enjoy building communities, and you extended an invitation to Allison to introduce her to some people in Washington. So that builds on what you like doing, connecting people and building communities.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've made a lot of connections between people, introducing my friends to each other and introducing new people that I meet to each other as well. I'm actually on this group called Lunch Club. I don't know if you all have heard of it, but it's an amazing thing. On this platform, you're able to meet somebody, just total random strangers. You meet them for a 45-minute chat. So each week you can pick what times you want to meet with people. You have a 45-minute chat with them, and then on whatever you want to talk about.
Okay. This is really something that you're into, connecting people and introducing friends to strangers or whatever. And you're actually on this app called Lunch Club. And you have 45 minutes to interact with the people, whoever it is that you choose that's on there that can be on there at the same time that you're on.
Yeah. So what's interesting is you pick the times that you can join a meeting, and the platform connects you with somebody who there's an algorithm that it uses, and it connects you with somebody who may have the same interests based on your profile. And so you have a conversation and you can keep staying in touch, or you can just say, that was a great conversation, thank you very much. And then you don't talk to them again. But it's another great way to connect and talk to somebody.
Okay, so the way it works is you pick a time, and then they have an algorithm that picks based on your profile and what you've said. If they identify a person that has your similar interests, you all connect, and either you want to meet again and talk again after that first meeting, or you don't.
Exactly. Yeah, there's only the only commitment is to join at that time and have that conversation. Afterwards, you have no more commitment to continue the conversation, but it's a great way to meet new people, and it's very professional. It's it's not for any particular reason.
Okay, it's not for any particular reason, but you get to meet people, and the only commitment to this is that you meet at that time and take part in it, and that's it. You're not committed to go on and on and on with that person.
Exactly. Yep. That was perfect. Thank you very much, Linda. I feel fully heard.
Great. Okay. Me as the listener, now I become the speaker, and I will speak with trying to go around here. I will speak to Vera. I'll bat the ball back to you. So if you will listen. Vera, would you be my listener?
Yes, I would love to. Thank you. And I
Okay.
put a link in the chat to my lunch club. So you can connect on lunch. You can get on lunch club and feel free to join and meet new people if you're interested.
All right. You have put a link in chat for those that are interested in the lunch club, if they want to participate in that.
I'm ready to listen to you. Yeah.
Okay. So initially you said that you didn't know, you were challenged in completing your talk in 4 minutes.
Yes. I initially said I was challenged in completing my 4-minute talk.
Okay. But it seems like, it appears to me that you've gotten comfortable with the process, and you're on board.
Yes, and it seems like I'm comfortable with the process and I'm on board. And can I add am I allowed to add something to it too, or no? Okay, sorry. I just needed to clarify.
Okay. It is challenging being the listener when someone says something to you and you want to respond rather than reflect.
Yeah, it is challenging as a listener when you feel like you want to, not only reflect, but also respond.
Exactly. And that's the main thing about the empathy circle, or being in an empathy circle, is that in social conversations, we do speak over each other and respond, and sometimes misinterpret what is being said.
Yeah, so that's the thing about empathy circles, because in social settings, we typically speak over each other, and we basically like try to respond and not really listen.
And yes, people really do want to be heard. And when you reflect back what they said, they do feel maybe what they're saying, they're not validated in their argument or statement, but they're validated as a person.
People really want to be listened to and heard, and it helps them feel validated, not only in their not really just in their statement, but as a person.
Yes. Sometimes with my girlfriends, we do that. We speak over each other and jump in and out, and sometimes the conversation goes left when we were talking about something right, or goes up when we're down, And it's just interesting. In the end, we all feel good about the conversation, but I'm questioning now whether we are actually hearing each other.
You mentioned, when you have conversations with your girlfriend, sometimes, the conversation will go left or right or up and down. And at the end, I mean, you all feel great about, having had the conversation, but you question whether or not there was real listening going on.
Yes. And one thing about the empathy circle, when you feel like when the listener feels like they have something they want to respond to, they can use their time when they speak to respond, to actually piggyback on whatever the conversation was. So it's not like you're totally dismissed. You just have to wait your turn to be heard.
For the listener, you can definitely respond when it's your turn to respond, just not when you're a listener. You have to wait until it's your turn to respond.
Thank you, Vera. I feel fully heard.
I just want to make a note. Maria just joined us. I don't know, maybe you had the times wrong. I know you're calling from Germany. So we started an hour ago. So you're joining the middle of a circle, just to let you know. But
yeah, sorry guys, I'm late.
Okay, that's okay. Maria, you've been in the circles before, haven't you?
Yes, I was participating 2 times. So thank you guys for having me here.
Okay, so I just wanted to clarify that Vera, you were the listener, so now you become the speaker and you can pick someone to listen to.
Oh, I think I was a speaker right before also. Oh,
Yeah,
wait, Edwin, you're on mute. Oh.
No, you can do that. Like
Oh,
Edwin
okay.
did to Allison because he
Oh,
wanted to
okay.
finish. Yes.
Got it. Okay.
And that's what I was saying about when you're listening, somebody may say something that you want to respond to. I would just want you to know that you can respond when it's your turn to speak. So you're not totally, your thought is not, if you want to, your thought is not totally out there.
Oh,
So now that you,
yeah, no, I'm good for now. I'm good. If somebody else wants to speak, I'm okay.
it is your turn. The way to pass it
Oh,
on is you
yes.
you can select, like Celine, she hasn't spoken in a while, you can speak.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a lot to say, you can just say, I feel fully heard, and then it's their turn. It's a way to pass it on.
You don't have to go to full. You don't have to go to full 4 minutes, but if you,
Oh.
whatever you wanted to say to me, you can say to Celine, if that's what you want to do, because it's your turn to speak.
Oh, good to know. Okay. I'm learning. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. I'll pick Celine.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Choice.
Perfect. I love this. Awesome. Okay. So this is just a wonderful and beautiful environment. I just absolutely love how welcoming and how friendly and nice everybody is. I absolutely love this.
So you're saying you're really enjoying this, that it's a wonderful and beautiful environment, and you're happy to be participating in this empathy circle.
Definitely. And okay, so like I mentioned, with Lunch Club, over the past year, I've participated in that Lunch Club platform. And just to share with you all, I have personally learned so much in terms of being, more thoughtful in conversing with others, just having a conversation, and really, it's helped me in my interactions with others.
So you're sharing about your participation in this lunch club over the past year, and this platform has given you a chance to learn a lot about and be more thoughtful and watch your interactions and learn from them.
Absolutely. And I'm the type of person who loves to meet people who are totally different from me, and just to learn about them, learn from them. For example, I was taking an improv class, and at the end of it, I said, oh, who wants to meet? And for the first session after the improv class, there were 5 of us who got together and networked. And then after that, it was just me and one other lady, and she's a female rabbi. And she and I have been meeting for almost the entire year since January. Almost every week we meet.
So an example of the connections that you've been making and how much you like to learn from other people. You were in an improv class, and at the end of it, you connected with one of the participants, a woman who was a rabbi, and you have continued to meet regularly for a year or more.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's been incredible. We meet almost every week, and we talk about a variety of different subjects. I've learned a lot about Judaism from her. And I mean, my best friends are Jewish, so I already love Judaism. But with her, I've learned so much more about the religion, and it's been absolutely amazing. Just connecting on, connection is so beautiful. Just meeting new people and just connecting on different things.
So you have learned so much from meeting with this new friend, this rabbi, and you've learned so much about Judaism, and it's exciting for you. You love that. And so you're so happy that you've continued this connection and others that you've made online.
Absolutely. And yeah, I thank you very much for this time, and I feel fully heard. Thank you, Celine.
Thank you. Great. So I'm wondering, Maria, would you be willing to listen to me?
Sure, of course. My pleasure.
Okay. I'm going to come back to empathy and empathy circles. And one of the things that is difficult for me, about when I hear people talk about empathy exhaustion, I think that's a term that people use. I'll pause there.
So you think that sometimes talking about empathy is complicated, and that's why you understand why people refer to empathy saying that is exhausting.
Actually, it's more that I have difficulty with that idea of empathy exhaustion. It's that the way that I know about empathy through empathy circles and through nonviolent communication, I can be fully present with somebody, but I am not taking on their emotional lives in any way. So I'm not exhausted, even though I may feel some sadness when I hear difficult stories.
So despite this, you like to take this lesson about empathy, like something positive, because you have this positive approach with your life, even if something negative is going on. So that's why for you it's so complicated to make this association between empathy, that is something like so beautiful for you, and something that could be exhausting.
Sort of. So let me clear a little bit more up and say more. That for me, I am present with somebody, but I am not taking on, I'm not feeling for them their feelings. I am only paying attention with care, but I'm not then going to spend my afternoon worrying about what I heard from them.
So you are much more focused on the listening part than on the part when you have to take the weight, let's say like this, of this sadness, this difficult moment. So you listen, you are carefully, but you don't want to carry the weight. If something negative is going on for you, helping means being empathetic in your own way with a proactive listening approach. Maybe?
Yes, listening, and I think attention is an
Yes.
important part of empathy.
Yes.
And I think it's not helpful if I am weighed down by another's suffering, even though I care.
So despite the fact that you care about this thing, you care about those people that can suffer, you don't want to push you down because of this way, this sufferance. So you can have a much more proactive and positive attitude.
Yes. Thank you very much, Maria. I feel fully heard.
Thank you very much for talking with me.
All right, Maria. So now that you were the listener, you get to be the speaker and you pick someone to listen. Thank you. I'm sorry.
Okay. I can talk with Alison. Alison, would you like to listen?
Yes, I'll listen.
Cool. Nice to meet you. So nice to see you for the first time. I'm here because I believe that this lesson about empathy will help me. And I would like to learn to listen more. And I would like to learn to pay much more attention to the details of the story of people that are talking with me.
So first you said it was nice to meet me, and then to you, you're excited to learn from these empathy circles, particularly how to listen and to be attentive to other people's points of view.
Yes, and details, exactly. Because as we mentioned before, paying attention to every little details, every little shades is very important, because in this way we can really catch the essence of our, the people that we have in our circle, in our family, and in our environment.
So to you, it's important to capture the little details, as it's that adds gives the richness of understanding somebody else's attitudes and positions.
Exactly, because in this way we can really enrich ourselves, and so also we can enrich our life and somebody else's life.
And this has the dual purpose of enriching both our lives and their lives.
Absolutely, yes. Thank you very much. I feel here.
Thank you, Marie.
Okay. Allison?
Yeah, I'll take Edwin to listen.
Listening.
Thank you. I wanted to say hello to Maria and to Tonya, who is maybe here. And then I'm going to reflect back on something Celine was talking about.
Okay, so you want to greet and say hello to Maria and Altonia if Altonia is here, and then you're wanting to go now to reflect on something that Celine talked about?
Yeah, so I heard Celine talk about the idea of empathy, sort of burnout or exhaustion, and I share a lot of her ideas around how this is perhaps something people are concerned about that maybe need not be concerned about.
So the idea of empathy burnout or exhaustion is something we may not need to be concerned about.
Yeah, I read a lot about it on, I spend some time on Instagram, which maybe isn't the best place to spend my time, but there's a lot on there about how, you've got to be careful not to be too empathic, perhaps, because it might cause you to have problems.
Yeah, so there's people like on Instagram that talk about, oh, you have to be careful not to be too empathic because it's going to have create problems.
Yeah, and I coming from my academic standpoint that we talked about earlier, you know, there's very little evidence for that. You know, in fact, anything empathy is protective against burnout and has lots of great impact in that.
Yeah, so you're sort of agreeing with Celine that the empathy has a lot of protective qualities actually against burnout. So it's not something we have to really worry about. And that's from the studies, from the literature that you've seen.
Yeah, I remember one of my favorite studies is, it's not quite the same thing, 'cause it's not about empathy per se, but it's about helping and how helping helps ourselves as well. But it's kind of like what Maria was saying, that by giving to other people, we ourselves are enriched.
So there's that sense of actually when you contribute to others and help others, it enriches you as well. So that's sort of a positive for yourself by contributing to others.
Yeah, absolutely. So the study I was reading was sort of the positive outcomes were measured in terms of life, and you actually live longer. The more you help people who report volunteering and doing other good for others actually live longer as well.
So yeah, from these studies, they say that if you contribute to others, you actually, you know, it has positive effects that you live longer. So.
On a personal, I haven't done it in many years, but I used to be a listener for the Samaritans, which is a charity. I don't know if you have it in the States, but in England, it's a suicide prevention hotline is its purpose. But essentially, it's an open telephone line that you can call, and somebody at the end of the phone will just listen. And I used to volunteer there. And although it was obviously difficult to listen to people in very traumatic times of their life, afterwards, I would feel very content might be the right word, that I had done that and that I had done some good in the world.
So you'd been listening on a suicide prevention hotline, and then after doing that, you just felt really good that you'd sort of contributed and helped in some way. So it had a good feeling for you.
Yes, thank you. I feel fully heard, Edwin.
Okay, great. Speak to Linda.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so I know there's this empathy fatigue and, you know, kind of concept out there. And some of it is the compassion community. There's this term compassion fatigue, and they're saying, no, it's not compassion fatigue, it's empathy fatigue. So they've been trying to shift this onto the empathy, which I kind of disagree with.
Okay. You disagree with, we've been talking about empathy exhaustion, and some people call it compassion exhaustion, and you said no, it's, you know, and it's back and forth. The labels are being switched back and forth, which you disagree with.
Yeah. So one thing is if you're just, it's how you define empathy. Like most empathy is defined as an individualistic thing, like you are empathizing as an individual. So and if you're just listening to other people, that can be exhausting, right? That you're just listening, and they don't listen to you, right? I think it is just totally exhausting. But what empathy, I see it as, it's a relationship. So in a relationship, what we're doing here is relational empathy, where everyone gets a chance to speak and everyone gets a chance to listen, and it's a shared empathy. So I think that's sort of the solution to the so-called fatigue. If you're only listening all the time, you know, so that's not a real relationship.
So, you know, it goes, what I hear you saying is how do you define empathy? And if you're just listening all the time, that can be exhausting. But what we have here in the empathy circle is more of a relational empathy, where you're giving and receiving.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's that's very healing, right? So if you're only listening and you say, oh, I'm getting empathy fatigue, it's not that there's too much empathy, is that there's not enough empathy from the other side, right? There's not enough. So it's actually what they're calling empathy fatigue is actually just a shortage of empathy. It's not enough empathy in the relationship.
Okay, so what I hear you saying is what some people call empathy fatigue is just limited for empathy. There's just not enough.
Exactly. Yeah. And and I think it's modeled in the empathy circle, that the circle demonstrates that. That's the problem with the cognitive psychologists and so forth, is they're in the concepts, they're not in the empathy circle actually practicing it, you know. So that's, yeah, and seeing what it is from the inside to sort of experience it deeply. So I think here, I mean, I feel pretty energized when I hear everybody's stories, and I get heard as well. It feels, you know, it feels pretty good.
So you're saying, from when you look at it, empathy from an academic point of view, cognitive point of view, that's different from when you look at it as a relational interaction. And so when you participate in it and it's a give and receive, it energizes you.
Yeah.
Because you're giving and receiving.
Yeah, so it's a great topic. Glad Celine brought it up. So it's an important topic, because a lot of people say, oh, you got to stop being empathic because you'll get all burned out. And it's like, no, you need more empathy, and you got to have mutual empathy, and it'll give you energy, and it'll actually problem solve. So I think they're just they're looking at it from the wrong angle.
Okay, so you're saying the people that don't get it are probably looking at empathy from the wrong angle, and you're glad that Celine brought this topic up, because it is an important topic.
Yeah, that's it. I feel fully heard. Thanks.
All
Linda.
right, thank you, because your time is up. Thank you. Okay. Okay, I will speak to, is Eltonia on? Guess not. I will speak to Maria.
Yes, I can listen.
You
Thank
can
very
listen,
much.
okay.
Yeah, of course.
I'm going to continue with this topic of empathy exhaustion, though I'm not familiar with the term.
So you would like to continue to this empathy exhaustion, because for you it's an important topic.
Yeah, it's a new term that I haven't heard, but based on the conversation, I understand what it is.
So you never listened this terminology before, and you are curious because you want to understand better what is it, and you are starting to understand right now what is it.
Yes, now that I'm hearing the conversation, I'm understanding what empathy exhaustion is.
So right now that you are embracing this conversation, you really feel that you are starting to understanding what is it.
And I have to agree with Edwin when he said that if you're just always listening, that can be exhausting.
Yes. So you agree with Edwin, because it's exhausting when you only have to listen continuously without giving your contribution, because empathy is about exchanging.
Right. I think the exhaustion comes in when you internalize the feelings of the speaker.
Yeah.
That can weigh you down.
Yeah. Because when you keep inside this frustration, let's say like this, of course you arrive at one point, and even if you are just a speaker, or just listen, you just listen all the time, then you can just literally explode.
Yes, and I think some psychologists and psychiatrists probably have experienced this exhaustion because they're always listening to their patients.
Yeah. Even from a professional level, for example, if we talk about the psychologists or psychiatrists, obviously they have this role, they have listen, and then this can be just exhausting at one point.
Yes, I feel fully heard. Thank you.
Thank you too for talking with me, Linda.
Okay, and when I was looking, were you saying we have 10 minutes to come in?
We do have, about 8 more minutes
okay.
before we close.
Okay, I like to have a little debriefing in the circle before we go back out to the main room, where we will debrief again. And in terms of asking in this circle, does anybody have any questions about what went on and what happened to Vera? Oh, that's you. Okay. Anything that occurred in the circle? No questions?
Allison raised her hand.
Allison has her hand.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
I don't know. It was brought up very, very early. Somebody said the term empathy buddy, I think, or it's something to do with the buddy. And I just wanted to ask what that was because I wasn't familiar with that.
Okay, I will let Edwin, do you want to explain that?
Sure. When we do the training, it's a 5-week training, and we match you up when you do with someone between each call, and you just come together as as two people, and you do 15 minutes of empathic listening for each other, just as a pair. And so it's a way of connecting with other people in their training cohort. And it's a way to practice, and it sort of models how, as a facilitator, you need support, before you facilitate and after, and you can, you get kind of a bit of support about how are things going for you in the training, etc. So, yeah, that's.
And I like to speak to that from a personal perspective, because what we're doing here is we're practicing the process, so everybody gets the process. But when you do the buddy call, it's all about engaging, for me, in a conversation while still using empathic listening. Because you don't want to be robotic in a social setting, because you're not going to get a person to say, okay, now you speak, and then I reflect, but you want to get so comfortable with it that you do it. And that buddy call helps. And it also helps you connect with people in the circle.
Thank you so much for explaining that.
Okay. Anybody else with any questions about what occurred here in the session? Or okay, I do want to make sure that I was clear, because sometimes I'm not. And when I was telling Vera, when you're listening and the speaker says something that triggers a thought or whatever, and you can't respond because you're in the listening mode, when it's your turn to speak, like we've done with the Selena, I think, started the conversation about empathic exhaustion. You can just keep going with that. Or so I don't want you to feel like, well, I had a thought, I thought it was really important, and because I was a listener, I couldn't say anything, so that my nugget that I wanted to share is lost. Well, it's not lost, because when it's your turn to speak, you can share that nugget. Does that make sense? Am I clear?
Yes. Yeah. Thank you
Okay.
for the clarification.
Okay.
I just wasn't sure. I just wasn't sure if you could just add on to the end of it, but yeah, no, I understand.
Yeah. And when we're in the circle and we have the 4 minutes, you don't have to use the whole 4 minutes. And really, I held up the sign, Vera, your first time around, because I saw you were struggling and I wanted to throw you a lifeline. So it's like,
thank you. Thank you.
So don't.
I wasn't sure. No,
Yeah,
I mean, the first go around, I wasn't sure if it needed to be the full. Yeah.
And then so don't feel like you're forced to fill 4 minutes. And I've heard in other circles, I haven't had that experience yet, that sometimes people are just quiet. They'll pause. And we tend to, as humans, want to feel that quietness, that void. Well, if you're in the empathy circle, and Edwin or Salim may want to speak more on this, I haven't had that experience yet, but it can occur. Celine, you want to speak on the void if somebody's quiet?
I had a wonderful void experience. And this was a circle with nobody had known each other prior, 4 women. And one came in telling about what had just happened to her that was very powerful. And she and another person were women of color, and the other 2 women, we were white women. And she told a story that, where she had been mistreated, disrespectfully treated by some white people. She and her friend were, anyway. And we were so affected by what she said that nobody said anything for 5 minutes. I looked at, I'm always, as a facilitator, always checking the time, right? 5 minutes, 4 women who had never met before. It was so powerful and beautiful that we were, all of us, going, wow. And what a sense of connection from that. So yeah, that's one time it's happened to me. And I
So it
hope
can be a positive experience.
very, very, yeah.
And for the listener, it can be challenging because you're sitting there going, are they going to say anything? Are you going to say anything? But you just have to let the speaker have their moment.
Yeah, and I think it was, you know, it was a sense of wow, so
Yeah.
fresh to hear of that
perspective.
impact.
Yeah.
Wow, that is powerful.
It was very cool. Yeah. Mhm.
I just had a question about it.
Yes.
So how was the silence finally? So the speaker continued, is that right?
You know, I don't remember how it was broken. Yeah, I think so. I think, yeah, that's what happened.
No, I'm curious.
So touched. Yeah, go on.
Sorry, I'm curious.
Edwin wants to share.
Oh, I had more of a
sorry.
technical kind of an issue, but go ahead if you want to finish with that topic.
Well, just curious, you know, as a facilitator, if you want to give everybody 4 minutes and it goes beyond, you know, that time for the speaker, what do you do as a facilitator? I'm just curious.
Okay, well, you finish your thought. That's what I tell people, you can finish your thought. The person can reflect. Now, if you feel compelled to say something else just for clarification, or you just got to get it, I let it go. It's happened a few times, and if it does just once, and then they reflect, and then they say, I feel fully heard, that's okay. But now, if the speaker continues to speak, maybe they have a long monologue, then, you know, as a facilitator, I will do my best to be tactful, which I'm not really, that's something else I'm practicing, but be tactful and say, you know, we want to give everyone in the group a chance to speak. If you can hold that thought, when it comes back around, you can finish sharing whatever. So,
So I have a little technical thing. Sorry, we're going to have to
Yes.
close the rooms.
Okay.
I'm going to close the room. But I just put something in for Maria that you had signed up for the training and you haven't filled out the application yet. And I sent an email. I didn't get it back. I don't know if it went in your
Oh,
spam.
I did it today, but
Oh.
from my phone, maybe. Yeah, I did it. Can you check? Can you do a double
Okay.
check? You will let me know, of course. Otherwise, I can
Right.
do this again.
Yeah. Okay, great. So I was
Thank
just
you.
sort of a technical
We've
thing.
been
Well,
bringing
thanks,
back-
everyone. The rooms are closing, so
Yes,
everybody will be
he's
coming
bringing
back in
back
the
the
next
crowd.
minute.
Wow.
This is great, y'all.
Thank you. Thank you, Linda. Thank you all.
So we're coming back in about 40 seconds. All the rooms will close.
Thank you, Linda.
Okay. This is how it felt on the Starship when they were being beamed from place to place. You show up.
Okay.
Linda, get your
15
hand up.
seconds.
Who has their hand up?
You do, Linda.
Oh. Okay. This probably was up the whole time and I didn't know it. Notice it.
Okay, welcome back, everyone. I'm gonna pass it on to Larry, who's gonna guide us through the next section.
All righty, so welcome back, everyone. And now we would like to take just about a minute each to share your experience and your insights from the Empathy Circle today. Anything you learned or any insights from the experience. And if the trainers or facilitators would raise their hand, this would really help me because I'll be able to go through the participants. And I'm going to try to raise my hand too. There it is. raise hands. So now I'd just like to go through the participants and take about a minute to share what the experience of the Empathy Circle was like for you today. So I'm just going to go around the screen. Allison, you're the first one on the screen. So would you unmute and share for maybe 30 seconds to a minute of what this was like for you?
Yeah, so this was really eye-opening for me. I generally study empathy from a very academic, sort of scholarly viewpoint, and sort of really see it in action and experience it on a personal level was really meaningful for me.
Thank you, Allison. Vera, would you share, please? Whoops, you're on mute.
Yeah, that was beautiful. I really enjoyed the conversation, and you know, being part of this is such an awesome experience. Just, you know, I mean, very rarely do we ever feel like we are fully heard, and this is just so special. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Vera. And Maria Breezy, would you share, please?
Yeah, sure. Well, every time that I'm here, I learn something new. I learn that everybody can say something special. That's why it's very important to listen carefully, everything, every story, and every little detail about it. That's why today I think that I learned something new, because I learned new people, I learned something new about new people and new story. And also I learned new perspective, because empathy is about understanding the other one point of view, and is about understanding that the other one can have a different angle. So thanks so much for teaching me this today.
Thank you, Maria. And Katerina, would you share, please?
Yes, for me it was the first time participating in an empathy circle. So it was a real experience to see how is the whole procedure of connectedness with everybody. In the beginning, I was not very good at it, let's say, and but then I got focused and realized how all senses get arised during the procedure, and how you share with everybody.
Thank you, Katerina. And Valerie, would you share, please?
Yes, I was really interested in, you know, what was happening over time with me in terms of feeling more present and more connected with everyone in our group, and how you know, that gradual deepening and the just the free sharing just really worked, and now I feel like I have, you know, 4 new friends. And the other thing is I oftentimes don't speak very often, and don't speak a whole lot when I speak. So it was learning to speak in a group. Mainly I do run on sentences when I do speak, and so I had to really shorten that.
Thank you, Valerie. And Sally, would you share, please?
Yeah, well, I thought Tiffany was just so calm and relaxed, and that it really made it conducive for everyone to just enjoy our group. And Kathy, she had this wonderful concept that the empathy process is like meditation, and you take each word and sentence that you say out loud, and the pauses, and that has just as much of an impact as fully absorbing and comprehending and reflecting what you're hearing in the empathy process.
Thank you, Sally. And Johnny, would you share, please?
Yes, sir. It was enlightening, a little frustrating at points because it's going to take a little bit more work than I thought it would. At least on my part. But I'm starting to see where how effective the empathy circle can be and how much impact you can have based on how deep you want to go into the process. So I'm all in.
Thank you, Johnny. And Dwayne, would you share, please?
Sure. It's interesting for me because I was introduced to this type of activity at a really young age. And so on some levels, this is really easy for me. And so the really challenging and interesting part is to challenge myself to sit back, to not be the first person to raise their hand. The other part of this, I really enjoy listening to people's stories and where they are in their lives and the opportunity that exists in conversation to make connections with people when we listen to them. And it's so incredibly powerful. And again, I'd like to thank Edwin and the other people who contributed to creating this opportunity for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Dwayne. And Nani, would you share, please?
I'm extremely grateful for the space that we had. It was a heartwarming experience, and my levels of anxiety have sort of lowered considerably, just having seen that there are people out there learning to listen to each other. So it has been a lovely experience, and I would like to thank you all for considering that listening is important. Listening to each other, we need to listen to each other. And I thank you for being there. I'm sorry, my brain is going in certain, but I do thank you for being there. Thank you so much. And thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Nani. And Holly, would you share, please?
I shared part of this in our smaller, more intimate group, but it was really a different experience than what I went into this thinking it would be, and on a much more intimate and emotional journey than I expected, which was a really welcome surprise. And I will definitely be joining these in the future.
Thank you, Holly. And Edwin, do we have time to go for the facilitators?
Yeah, we have about 10 minutes, so I think we have time for facilitators.
All right, so start at the top and go around the screen, maybe 30 seconds. And Bill, would you start the sharing, please?
Sure. Well, I'm very touched by everything that happened today. And I'm so glad that the people in our breakout room, had the experience that they had. It seemed to be important. And I think that many other people can also experience this. And so I'm happy to share with that and to help people on their path. Again, I'm a retired special education teacher. In the chat, I put in my email and things like that. If you're interested in bringing it to schools or adapting it for various things, you can email me, or on Thursdays at the same time, I have a little group that I've started. But anyway, so thank you.
Thank you, Bill. And Kathy, would you share, please?
Sure. Yeah, every circle is different, and today was just a very calm, beautiful circle. I appreciate Tiffany's leadership and facilitation in that circle. And it was, wonderful to be with everybody in the circle. Kevin and Sally, who I've been in circles with before, so it's good to be with them again. So thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. And Dean, would you share, please?
People came into the circle for the first time very nervous, and then after a couple of rotations they seemed to relax, and when they relaxed the level of emotion in the circle just became really intense, and it was a really beautiful thing. As others have said, each circle is different, and today was a very emotional circle. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean. And Gary, would you share, please?
Yeah, I had a sensation of feeling like I was lost when I first started, because this was the first circle I done. But lo and behold, if you just wait and be patient, you see the process work. And I got to see the process work, and the circle became very deep and intimate. And I appreciate that.
Thank you, Gary. And Celine, would you share, please?
Sure. We also had a lovely circle, a lot of different perspectives on empathy and empathy circles. I enjoyed Linda's facilitation, and as always, was a great experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Celine. And Linda, would you share, please?
Yes, and thank you, Celine, for the compliment. As a facilitator, I'm learning, I'm getting more and more comfortable the more I do it. Keeping up with the time and flipping speaker, listener, speaker, whatever. But after a while, it flows. Very good conversation. Very good conversation. It's all good.
Thank you, Linda. And Tiffany, would you share, please?
Sure, Larry, thanks. This was my first time. I thought it went pretty well. I thank the people who supported me, and I look forward to working with you all again.
Thank you, Tiffany. And Anne, would you share?
Yeah, I really appreciate being in that circle. It's made me kind of reflect. It was good supporting Gary as he starts facilitating, and to meet 3 new people, Katerina and Valerie and Johnny, and I feel like I would like to know them each much better. I'm curious and feels a bit like a beginning of friendship, but that makes me realize that this can happen. They're strangers to me, and within a very short period of time, I feel like that. And it gives me hope and purpose in the world, which is in rather a mess at the moment. And I think this can really help make changes.
Thank you, Anne. Now, did I miss anyone? Sometimes the little screens move around a little bit. Did I overlook anyone? I'll just share that I love these empathy circles. I'm amazed at something that is so relatively simple can produce such a profound human awareness. This what's alive inside of each of us, this loving heart that really is within everyone. And like Dean was saying, to live that gives permission for other people to live that. So we each set the example for one another. And I'm just so grateful for Edwin and the team who put this together. And if I didn't leave anyone out, then I'm going to turn it over to Edwin for your share.
Okay, thanks, Larry, and everyone. I really love the learning. This is a very learning space. So people who are, if you're new to the process, you're learning, how to take part in an empathy circle. As you see, there's a lot of facilitators, people who are taking the training, and this is a learning space for them on how to facilitate these intro cafes, and then in the circles themselves, you get a chance to actually practice facilitating. So we're learning on a lot of different levels, and I think that's really what we need is that learning and growth to really transform society, to raise the level of empathy in society. So really grateful for everyone's participation. And I'm going to put a link in, a couple links actually, into the chat. So these are steps for going forward. So every Saturday for the next 2 weeks, next 2 Saturdays, we'll be having these intro cafes. We're also having them on Mondays, so you can come on Mondays and practice some more. And then we have actually in 2 hours, we have another one. If you really want to, some more, empathy circles today, we have our democracy circle, and that's in 2 hours. And it's addressing, using the empathy circle process, but addressing the challenges or with democracy, in our country, in the world for that matter, that there's a lot of sort of challenges with democracy. And we're going to use the empathy circle to talk about that. So you're welcome to come and take part in that and even help facilitate some circles. We have a cohort 12D, the sign up. I think there's still a couple more spaces. Let me just maybe do a show of hands. Who's wanting to take part? That starts November 20th is the first day, Saturday. So I see, oh great, Holly, I see new people, Dean and Maria and Celine, Sarah and Johnny. So yay, and Nani, good to see that. And Vera, yeah, so be sure to click on that link, fill out the application, and then there's still a few spaces left. And so we look forward to your participation in that. And then once you've taken the training, you can be part of these intro cafes and help facilitate them. And then last but not least is the last link there. If you can click on that link to fill out the feedback form for this session, you just click on it and put your email and contact info and just any comments, thoughts about this intro cafe. And we can also, once we have your contact info, we can add you to our announcement email list, just so you can keep up to date on all the different empathy circles and empathy cafes that are being held. So with that, we do like to end.
I have a question.
Oh, yes.
Real
Linda.
quick, on the democracy circle that's going to take place in a couple of hours, can people come as participants?
Yeah, just come as a participant.
Okay.
Anyone can drop in.
Okay.
And it's only going to be an hour and a half. We're going to have a very short intro, few minutes, and then we're going to go into breakout circles. It's a little bit shorter than this. We're just doing an hour and a half versus 2 hours. Yeah, so if you're Dwayne.
Yes, I also just wanted to mention that I signed up to help facilitate
that democracy circle. Yeah, if you feel, also I think you're ready to facilitate a breakout circle. If we need help with doing a breakout circle, I'd love to have you facilitate one, so get that experience. So, and anybody else, if you're feeling, hey, I'm ready to facilitate, I'd like to come. You could come 5-10 minutes early to check in before we get started. And you'll notice as a facilitator, we add ECF to the end of our name just to indicate that we're ready to be an Empathy Circle facilitator. So with that, we'd like to get our jazz hands, just the ending, say goodbye, and thank you all for taking part, and hope to see you in the next circles. Bye for now. And the facilitators, if you can stay back for a debrief.
Bye-bye.
Bye all.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
See you soon, guys.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Great
See you
time.
soon.